Mandalorian Season 2 dropped, the Star Wars community really felt a better sense of quality from Disney in regards to the Star Wars franchise than they had got from the Disney sequel trilogy and the other movies. It was a great moment. They also, after the credits, revealed the Book of Boba Fett, a TV show all about the best bounty hunter in the galaxy aiming to take over a criminal syndicate. This was exciting to say the least. And early on in the series, like in the first 2 episodes, it felt as if it was doing the character justice, as well as explaining how Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc, met Fennec Shan, and eventually reclaims his armor from Din Djarin. So one would definitely think that Boba Fett's new TV series, produced and directed by many of the same talents who worked on Mando, would knock it out of the park. Not quite. No, don't say it! Boba Fett's history goes all the way back to being the most special son clone of Jango Fett, one of the best bounty hunters in the galaxy who gave his DNA away to be the base for Palpatine's clone army, which Obi-Wan totally knew about.
That's why I'm here.
His moments to shine in the original trilogy are full of intimidation and atmosphere, and a touch of bad luck, or I guess crazy good luck for Han Solo. Let's not even start on how crazy overpowered and skilled Boba Fett is in the non-canon legend stories. Seriously, how did EU Boba Fett just get bumped into and die? I don't know. So the Book of Boba Fett is the perfect means to redeem the famous high-selling toy of the franchise and give Boba the canon series that he deserved. What we got was, unfortunately, almost predictably at this point, not that. The Book of Boba Fett suffers from not knowing how much of a show about Boba Fett it actually wants to be, and also from poor choices in overall story and character structure. And it could have been so much better, even without changing too much about the overall show. Boba Fett is cool because he's a bounty hunter, the best as far as many say, so making him want to become this criminal sheriff of sorts is already kind of limiting the potential of the show to a degree. But it also makes sense as they'd want a more solid set to use for plenty of episodes that the characters could return to. I mean, if he's always on the run doing mission after mission, he's probably not going to be in the same place that often. And from a narrative perspective, Boba is getting older and probably would like to chill from the more dangerous adventures on other planets. He sees the chaotic traffic that goes through Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire and wants to change it, or well, at least rule over it, I guess. He takes over Mos Espa, after some time without his armor with the Tuskens, and becomes the daimyo. Immediately, we get tension from the other Hutts, who seemingly want the territory, and even have Black Chrysanthemum hired under them as muscle. Okay, so pause everything for a sec. This, right here, should have been the entire season of the show, a first season, if you will, because as of time of recording, getting a second season is looking more and more unlikely, and heck, maybe for good reason. Anyway, I digress. In my opinion, if they had simply made these 2 Hutts the main antagonists for this season, and had the main course of the plot throughout the first season being gang warfare between the 2 forces, that would have been pretty good. More time to develop Black Chrysanthemum and make him an intimidating foe, and have him develop an adversarial relationship with Fennec Shan and Boba Fett. This way, we'd get plenty of time to focus on Boba's past childhood trauma and the past of Black Chrysanthemum, developing character and making their final tussle and eventual team up all the more satisfying. But alas, they do my boy Black Chrysanthemum very, very dirty. He gets some moments, but he feels like a hollow shell of the Wookiee that some of us know from the lore. Again, if we got way more insight into Black Chrysanthemum, like how he was found and hired by the Hutts, maybe some conflict he's dealing with outside of the contract that he's hired for, all done with little dialogue through flashbacks, we'd have a compelling character to watch compete with Boba Fett. The episodes could literally be about Boba narrowly foiling the Hutt's plans, and then vice versa. But Black Chrysanthemum is quickly dealt with by the mods. Right, yeah, the mods. I, personally, wouldn't have made these the characters that Boba feels the need to recruit. I'd feel like Boba Fett would want a bit better of a legion of goons than these street young adults with cyberpunk modifications to defend his new criminal empire. Granted, these guys survive, while the Gregorian guards are just pushed off a cliff, so... Even the motivation for Boba wanting the mods to join his crew was kinda silly and didn't feel like something the coldest bounty hunter would do. I think I would prefer it more as if it was like that new TV show The Penguin, where he kind of adopts maybe one or two of like a street ruffian type character into his gang and then kind of slowly shows him the ropes or something. I feel like that would be a little bit better than whatever this is. I understand he went through some community building seminars with the Tuskens, but these mods are not the warriors that I would think would be able to defeat any Wookiee, let alone a gladiator Wookiee known for tangoing with multiple opponents at once and powerful Jedi, all while living to tell the tale. It's an insult to people who know the character lore for both Boba Fett and Black Chrysanthemum. If the mods do have to be characters, can we maybe get a bit more backstory on them other than them being rebellious against shitty landlords? But nah, we don't have time for backstories to help develop characters. We gotta have episodes completely dedicated to the ongoing plots of other TV shows. It's cool to see post-Return of the Jedi Luke building the new Jedi Order and teaching Grogu, plus all the while interacting with Ahsoka on screen, but shouldn't this be the first episode of Mando Season 3 and not an episode in the series about Boba Fett? This, in general, is probably the most common and fair criticism that has been leveled against the Book of Boba Fett on large. If this episode was, say, saved for more development of characters, we'd have more investment in the development of the story. But nah, it's really because the creators ended up treating this series like a sneak preview of Mandalorian Season 3, with the main characters of this Boba Fett series taking a painfully full back seat. How cool would it have been to see a flashback episode where we see a much younger Boba Fett doing a mission alone, without the guidance of his father, Jango? Wouldn't it have been cool to, say, learn about the motivations of the Hutts, the Pikes, Black Chrysanthemum, heck, the mods, the corrupt mayor even? Okay, maybe not this guy. Instead, we get filler that's basically plotting for another series that it's clear the producers actually care way more about. We get Boba in the bacta tank, not Boba doing cool shit. This just isn't right. Speaking of not right, let's now touch up on, in my opinion, the most brutal wasted opportunity of the show. Cad Bane.
I'd be careful where I was sticking my nose.
If you're not familiar with the Clone Wars, Cad Bane is easily one of the coolest characters in the series, if not the entire Star Wars universe. So many decades later in the timeline, after the Clone Wars ends, Cad Bane returns in live action to be the final big bad to go up against Boba Fett. And it would be much, much better, in my opinion, if this happened in a second season, where after Boba Fett has quelled the efforts of the Hutts and finally defeated and teamed up with Black Chrysanthemum, the Pikes try to make a power play with the help of Bane. Honestly, the introduction scene for Cad Bane at the end of the second to last episode, in my opinion, should have been the ending of the first season, teasing his gloriously evil return. Imagine an entire second season where Boba Fett now has to go back and forth with Cad Bane, where they each foil each other's plans. Again, this could be perfect, as we could get more backstory on Cad Bane, and maybe even more flashback stories where Boba Fett first competed with Cad Bane as to who would be the best bounty hunter in the galaxy or whatever. I mean, wouldn't that be cool? They're both competing for the same contract, they're constantly one-upping each other. That would be pretty neat. But nah, he's killed off in the last episode in the big Freedom Town battle. Cause, sure, let's just get rid of these iconic characters that would totally be usable for future stories in 1 or 2 episodes. Why not? I mean, it's not like we care about these guys or anything. It's not like I want to see more of this, It's like they did the reverse of Darth Maul, where he had his potential cut off early in the live action, only to be revived and used much more effectively in the animated productions. This time, Cad Bane comes in from an excellent run in the animated shows, only to be wasted in live action later. So much aura and atmosphere all just to get stabbed by Boba Fett pretty quickly. They had a cool standoff, but that's kind of it. Overall, the Book of Boba Fett had so much potential, but for all it tried, it kind of really just ended up fumbling the proverbial bag. Fennec Shand deserved more of a satisfying character arc beyond just soloing a bunch of Pike Syndicate goons last minute to wrap up loose ends. Boba Fett deserved more of a character arc than riding a Rancor and using a Tusken weapon to settle a score. Black Chrysanthemum deserved, so much better. Heck, even the mods and criminal underworld culture of Mos Espa could have used more development. Rather, what we have is a rushed product that assumed people who were watching it cared more about Din Djarin and Grogu than they did main characters of the show. Even Danny Trejo got wasted, as now he's in Star Wars exclusively as this Rancor handler that we see for all of what, like 2 seconds? Is it any coincidence then that Mandalorian Season 3 went way down in quality too following this travesty? It wouldn't end up being till Andor and some other non-canon Star Wars media that we'd see a return to quality for Disney Star Wars, and even then, its track record remains spotty at best. Spotty at best. Though hey, at least we got to see post-episode 6 Luke doing some cool front flips again. That's cool. You know, in the Boba Fett show. But, you know, whatever. Wouldn't that be cool if maybe this Boba Fett show, Boba Fett was hunting Luke or something? If they really want to do this plot line? I don't know. But maybe Boba Fett knows not to hunt this like super Jedi who took down an entire empire. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. I'm just so disappointed.
Bruising of ego.